Universal has released new details about one of the most anticipated lands of its new theme park in Orlando, Florida, Epic Universe. Along with these details of Dark Universe, which we will go over here shortly, BioReconstruct has once again gifted us with brand new aerial views of the newest theme park in Orlando. In this update, we have seen a tremendous amount of new panels installed on Constellation Carousel, the cupola installed on top of the Helios Grand Hotel, and new characters appearing inside of the ride path of Fire Drill in How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burk. All of this and more in this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update. Quickly starting this update just south of Epic Universe at Stella Nova and Terra Luna resorts, the exterior tiles of Terra Luna are starting to make their way all around the resort. Around the pool area of Terra Luna, circular concrete tree wells have appeared identical to the ones found next door at Stella Nova, where trees have been planted for a couple of months. Opposite the pool area, in front of the hotel at Terra Luna, the traffic circle has begun to be formed. Moving back north up Kirkman Road, we run into the entrance of Epic Universe. All around the front end of the entrance area to the new park, the colored concrete as well as trees continue to appear in several different areas. Under the security awnings, we can see that concrete has been poured for the floor, as well as the concrete courtyard between the awnings continues to be shaped. Just before getting to the Kronos Tower, a new tree has been planted in one of the concrete shapes that was poured a couple of weeks ago. Nearby, a large new section of the Kronos Tower can be seen on the ground preparing to be lifted into place. There have been several new elements inside of the Kronos Tower installed since our last update, including a Mario coin with the modern Mario on one side and the classic Mario on the other. Luna Overlook is still waiting for concrete, while the sculpting of rocks inside of the cascading waterfalls continues to be worked on. Crossing over the waterfalls, several of the footbridges have had their concrete poured on top of the corrugated metal. There is also several new concrete forms that have been built around the edge of the waterfalls since last update. Just on the other side of the walkway to the cascading waterfalls, the two newest locations in Epic Universe are beginning to see initial roofing of the seating area being installed. It appears that the beams that are still being installed are staying just ahead of the roofing panels. These two quick service locations will unlikely be ready for the opening of Epic Universe, since they have been left out of all of the official concept art and renderings, including the new model inside of the Epic Universe Preview Center in City Walk. Behind Atlantic Restaurant, the guest walkway that follows the high walls of Super Nintendo World continues to take shape, with curbing as well as seeing the first concrete sections of walkway being poured. This gives us a great idea of the shape of the pathways in this section of the park as more and more curbing begins to appear. Looking across the skyline of Celestial Park, there are a tremendous amount of cranes that are currently in use. This aerial gives me a Jurassic Park vibe with, speaking of cranes, the one that is assigned to Constellation Carousel has been hard at work placing the decorative roof panels on the main part of the dome. These panels look to be painted panels and not the stained glass that we were hoping for and look to be in several of the renderings. Needless to say, these panels are still beautiful and have a fantastic design. Outside of the Carousel Dome, there are several crates of new panels staged on the ground, ready to be lifted into place on top of the dome. Inside of the dome, where the main ride mechanism is, workers can be seen covering the entire area with plastic as a layer of protection from the rain. Along the edge of the middle water feature that Constellation Carousel looks over, high-density foam is being shaped and placed above the walls of the fountain. This method helps raise the elevation of the edge of the fountain without adding a lot of pressure and weight from dirt. At the newly renamed Stardust Racers, the comet theming at the front of the coaster continues to be covered for what is believed to be painting. A coaster train can be seen on a service section of the track, right in front of a silver door, which is the entrance to the maintenance bay. Behind the coaster building, in the extended queue area, several trees have been planted along the side of the queue to help shield guest views from the backside of the Wizarding World. Near the entrance to Stardust Racers sits the venue we believe will be named Meteor Astropub, which is getting closer to being completely waterproofed. On top of the rotunda, we can see new glass windows staged matching the shape of the arches in the walls of the rotunda. Between the middle water feature and the main show fountain of Epic Universe, the walkways that have been making their way towards the park entrance have hit a large milestone. The pathway on either side of Astronomica have begun to make a U-turn and start making their way around the middle water feature. All around the main show fountain, additional light poles have been installed on the Wizarding World side of the fountain. Work on the last concrete seating area and ramp continues to make progress as well. On the Dark Universe side of the fountain, Celeste Tiki Bar is getting its exterior half-wall framed and walled in, along with the pathway branching off from the main path around the main fountain. The two kiosks next to Celeste Tiki Bar appear to have several pieces of roofing beginning to be staged on top of these structures. At the top of the main fountain, the Compass concrete form we saw last update being built has received its first section of concrete in the center of this shape. Between this area and the base of the Helios Grand Hotel, there is a lot of tiered concrete work taking place around the possible dedicated entrance to Epic Universe for guests of the Helios Grand. High above Celestial Park, at the highest point in Epic Universe, the main dome of the Helios Grand has received its cupola. At the base of the dome, we can also see some decorative copper color roofing sections beginning to be installed. This should make the top dome look similar to the smaller domes on either side. Above the ballroom, we can see copper color curved roofing beginning to be installed on the side closest to the center of the hotel. On the Epic Universe side of the roof, there are decorative glass panels being installed on the leftmost dome of the hotel. Below, on the ground, the first roof panels of the lobby overhang are beginning to be installed, while additional foundation work for different areas of the pool have begun to take shape. Next door to the Helios Grand Hotel sits the new Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic. This update, there is not a lot to go over, but there are still a few pieces of progress to touch base on. Along one of the rooftops, a new globe-themed element has been installed. Last update, the majority of the streets were covered in scaffolding, hiding the majority of the building facades. This time around, there are a few sections that have been taken back down, revealing new painted sections of the facade. One of these sections is an area where we can see new musical theming along with musical notes towards the bottom of the building. Towards the entrance to the Ministry of Magic ride, workers can be seen on top of the scaffolding painting the top of the facade. On the street below, we can see a large blue doorway which is likely the exit to the Ministry ride. All of the streets have been paved with the exception of a small section near the end of one of the 5 streets where workers can be seen preparing a tree well. In this area of the model in the preview center, we can see several large trees in this area. Just on the other side of Stardust Racers sits the faraway land of How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burk. Just inside of the land, on the right side of the lagoon, there is a large collection of trees before reaching Spitfire Grill. These trees are playing a key role in keeping the backside of the new 2 quick service dining locations hidden from the land. After the boardwalk ends on this side of the land, the concrete walkways are beginning to be poured. These walkways have a broken look to them, similar to the golden walkways found in Donkey Kong Country. Where guests order food at Spitfire Grill, workers can be seen installing rebar in preparation for the pathway. On top of Spitfire Grill, we were able to see the windmill spinning slightly during this aerial update. Just across the seating area for Spitfire Grill, at the target boat ride of Fire Drill, there have been a number of small changes since last update. There are a number of crates full of trees inside of the ride path ready to be installed along the sides of the lagoon. Along the sides of the ride, there are also a number of new themed elements installed, including barrels full of water, as well as a sheep hiding for its life. In the queue area, several additional trees have been planted, which helps hide the back of house service buildings. Near the pump house for the ride, all of the boats we saw being put together last update have since been built and are now being covered by blue tarps. Past Fire Drill, making our way towards the Untrainable Dragon show, there are a number of small walls which are themed as shaped stones. There are several walls in this area not yet shaped, so it is safe to assume that we will see the same theming on these walls. Looking just past the pump house, we can see a ride train for Hiccup's wing gliders in the service spire, covered in blue tarps as well. Inside of the queue for the coaster, we can see what looks like rock spires beginning to be formed in several different areas. Next to the queue for the coaster sits another queue, but this one for Dragon Racers Rally, where we can see several footers and foundations for future vertical beams, as well as excavation work happening for the pathways. On the edge of the main lagoon that greets guests as they enter the land, the retail building has begun to be painted in a similar way found on Mead Hall next door. On the side of Mead Hall, we can see a very large cave-like opening. We will have to keep our eyes out and see what this part of the location will become. Right in front of one of the statues guarding the entrance to Mead Hall, a new concrete dividing wall is actively being poured. There is a wall identical on the other side of Mead Hall, right in front of the other statue. These walls will also have a stone look to them that are identical to the ones found by the Untrainable Dragon theater show. Lastly, over at the kids' play area of Viking Training Camp, additional framing has been installed in every corner of this area. There are a few pieces of framing on the top levels of the play area that look to be for a second level of the playground starting to take shape. On the other side of Celestial Park sits the most colorful land in all of Epic Universe, Super Nintendo World. To the right of the entry portal to the land, there is an additional layer of landscaping being formed. Just inside of the Mushroom Kingdom, when guests enter through Peach's castle, there is a new turret top staged on the ground, preparing to be installed on top of one of the remaining turrets. Just past Peach's castle, near the Goomba rolling activity, new characters can be seen placed on the rooftops, which includes yet another Goomba. Yoshi's Adventure has seen a good amount of changes since we last visited. Near the last scene of the ride, the floor of this area has been painted green. Not only this, Pookie has been added along the ride path. There are now several green pipes seen throughout the land now, and also the metal arch frame at the base of Mount Beanpole will be a green pipe as well, which we can see in the model at the preview center. Permanent fencing has been installed all around the ride, as well as the scrims have been removed from the entire ride path. On the ground level between the ride tracks of Yoshi's Adventure, we can see new flooring being installed, making its way across this entire small courtyard. Behind the Mushroom Kingdom sits Donkey Kong Country, where the extension to the large green wall which separates the two areas of the land. The back of house gate inside of this wall can be seen starting to be framed. Just before this back of house gate sits Funky's Fly and Buy gift shop, which can be seen starting to be shaped like the airplane which we have seen in the renderings of this land. Turning towards the entrance to Minecart Madness, guests pass the Bubbly Barrel snack stand, which has had its golden pathway formed to this location. Additional theming has been installed on the lift hill of Minecart Madness, while one of the minecarts can be seen tied in place on one of the hills, where the two screaming pillars are located. This could be for installation of sensors which will trigger the pillars to move towards the minecarts. The last land to go over is the neighbor to Super Nintendo World, which is the land that new details were recently released, Dark Universe. Just in front of the entry portal to the land, the second courtyard has been poured with colorful detail since we last checked in. Just next to the entrance, the exit pathway to the land is beginning to be formed out as well. Making our way into the land, we can see several new gravestones have been added around the pathway leading to the village of Darkmoor. We can also see exposed coffins in the ground behind the gravestone-lined pathway. There have also been more trees planted as a visual barrier for guests as they enter the land, giving a better reveal to the village. Inside of Darkmoor, the balconies we saw being formed last update are now ready to be painted. As guests exit the village and enter the dark forest, to the left is the spinning roller coaster of Curse of the Werewolf, where inside of the queue area, green speakers can be seen installed throughout the queue. Near the coaster building, we can see what looks like stairs being formed below the arch that was installed several updates ago. On the other side of the forest sits Frankenstein's Manor, which will house the feature ride, Monsters Unchained: The Frankenstein Experiment. At the Manor Gatehouse, we can clearly see the name Frankenstein carved into the gatehouse, as well as new vines are being formed, identical to the ones found on the manor itself. High above the manor on the rooftop, several new themed features have been installed, as well as more of the curved metal. Behind the manor, in the extended queue area, new railings can be seen installed, which is the perimeter of the queue and not the bollards and chain that will make up the winding pathway. Off to the side of the manor sits Dr. Lacey's cottage, which is a food stand. This structure has seen new scaffolding being erected around the chimney as painting is beginning. The side of the cottage facing Curse of the Werewolf has already been painted with a wood look. The remaining trees that finished up the look of the forest have been planted between Burning Blade Tavern and the extended queue area of Monsters Unchained. If you are looking for a more in-depth look at the new details of Dark Universe recently released, be sure to watch this video posted by Theme Park Stop on their channel. With that exciting news, this only leaves the Wizarding World details to be released. Hopefully we will get those details sometime in July, but August at the latest. One thing that Universal still has not addressed is the opening date of Epic Universe. I have made my prediction for the opening date of this new theme park, and if you want to know what that is, be sure to watch this video next. Don't forget to subscribe so you do not miss the next Universal Epic Universe construction update. And until next time, travelers, have a great one.